In 2011, I competed in a trail running race. This event was entirely for charitable purposes. I was aware that all race revenues would be donated to a charity that assists persons with disabilities in need. This made me quite proud. When I arrived at the race location, I could hear people laughing and cheering. Charity participants promoted and raised funds for their organizations. I also observed several disabled folks who were just as excited and motivated as everyone else. I was greeted by a cheerful staff person and swiftly obtained my race number and other required stuff. I instantly became a part of the family and participated in a warm-up drill with the other competitors. I felt energized and motivated to take on the challenge of this charity trail run. The terrain for this trail race was extremely difficult, and runners had to contend with a variety of terrain and weather conditions. The race began on a large green grass field. The route includes a steep climb and a fast river. The starting gun was fired by the referee, who stood in the center of the track. His grip on the handle was firm, and his gaze was intent. Under the referee's instructions, the personnel next to him verified each runner's equipment and number plate to ensure the race's fairness and safety. The competition officially began with a loud gunshot. The racetrack was teeming with people who were cheering. The sky began to cloud over shortly after we left. A soft air caressed my cheeks. The temperature fell somewhat as it appeared to be about to rain. I didn't lose motivation because I realized I'd worked too hard to give up so easy. A river appeared in front of me at that very moment. It was the race's wildest river. I was not far from the finish line after crossing this river. I took a deep breath and quickened my speed in order to save as much time as possible. I anticipated the second part of the race would be more difficult and would require greater physical power and endurance. I swam effortlessly across that big river. My body was trembling as I approached the coast. I knew I was losing heat, which was terrible. I sped up as fast as I could in an attempt to raise my body temperature. But no matter how fast I ran, my body couldn't stop shivering. My steps were increasingly heavy and my breathing became increasingly difficult. I needed to pause and take a rest, but I didn't dare to stop because I knew it would aggravate my temperature drop. My vision gradually blurred. I went unconscious. I'm not sure how long it took, but my soul left my body. I saw my body laying on the ground, surrounded by people. Then a car drew up close to my body and two paramedics stepped out. They approached me and began to resuscitate me. I was terrified since I had no idea what was going on. My thoughts got jumbled, but I could plainly see the paramedics working about me. They checked my pulse and breathing before starting CPR. I felt like a bystander with no physical sensations. I wasn't sure if my soul had genuinely left my body or if it was all a dream, but I realized how significant this moment was to me and that my life was in jeopardy. Suddenly, I felt a huge force sucking me in above my head. This black hole was constantly rotating. As my spirit approached the black hole, I began to feel fear. I had no idea what was going to greet me. I was entirely in control and let the black hole to absorb my soul. Then I was transported to a weird planet. There was nothing but darkness around me, no sound and no light. But instead of being terrified, I had an odd sensation of serenity and tranquility. I'm not sure how long I was there, maybe a few minutes or a few hours. Time grew hazy here. A bright light appeared ahead of me. I felt a powerful force obstructing my path as I approached the bright light. It seemed as if an unseen force was pushing me back. Every stride I made became very tough, as if each step forward would sap all of my power. I finally made it to the light after much work. The sensation here was completely different than previously, as if I were in a separate world. There was a warmth in the air, and I felt surrounded by a soothing vibe. I felt a powerful surge of affection here. This energy was more powerful than any love I'd ever felt. This love was so pure that it seemed to be capable of eradicating all sorrow and worry. My soul was purified here, I felt. I got more liberated and perfect. This is a really special spot that instills confidence and power in me. A figure suddenly emerged behind me. He seemed to be watching me. I didn't dare to turn around. Then I heard a powerful and authoritative voice speak to me. This voice was familiar to me. It was the voice of Jesus. I turned slowly around to see a man in a white robe with a crucifix on his chest. He was the Christ. His eyes were filled with kindness and affection. Jesus extended out his hand and brushed my hair tenderly. The sensation was delicate, like a father stroking his son. I felt this warmth and affection surrounding my heart. As I approached Jesus, he seemed to already know how I died. He replied softly to me, "I know all that you've done for others, my son." Jesus then expressed gratitude for my actions. He stated, "Such actions of yours, my child, can make the world a better place. Others will be inspired by your generosity and efforts." When I heard Jesus' praise for my acts, I felt humiliated and even a little guilty. I thought what I was doing was insignificant. However, Jesus disregarded my views by adding, "My child, don't underestimate what you've done. Every tiny thing has meaning and has a great impact." I was taken aback by Jesus' statement, since I'd never imagined that my acts would have such a large influence. He went on to say that everything has the ability to influence a person, or possibly the entire world. A screen then emerged in front of me as a result of Jesus' hand wave. I noticed a homeless man. I remembered him. I had assisted him 3 years before. I then handed this destitute man money and clothes. He was quite grateful to me. He explained that he'd been on the streets for a long time with little to show for it. He felt honored to have met me and that my assistance had changed his fate. Then I noticed this life was behind him. He obtained a secure work and rebuilt his life in the days that followed. I was overjoyed to see such a spectacle. But I was startled to learn that the homeless man had now become a volunteer and frequently visited the nursing home to assist other elderly folks. I was startled since I never imagined my assistance would have such a large impact. But it's also tremendously satisfying to know that my good efforts have inspired others to do the same. This homeless man has now transformed himself into someone who affects the lives of others. He assists other elderly, making them happier and more content. This experience let me realize the power of kindness to transform a person's fate and pass it on to others. With my assistance, this homeless man found his purpose and meaning, and he became a more useful person. Then I noticed another image. A new coworker joined the company at one point during my employment. I said something unintentionally hurtful to him. I had no idea how much my actions had harmed this new colleague. This new coworker quickly resigned. I was unaware of the cause for his departure at the time. Following that, I observed what his life was like once he departed. He was concerned about his capacity to perform his duties. He hadn't found a new job in a long time and was losing his confidence and guts to interview for one. I felt terrible because I understood my actions had had a significant impact on him. Jesus did not pass judgment on me. Jesus caused me to reconsider my acts and realize that even minor deeds can have a significant influence. Jesus changed my outlook. I realized what I was doing. This realization has had a significant impact on my life in the future. He also transmitted more wisdom to me during my interactions with Jesus. Finally, as our meeting came to an end, Jesus informed me, "It's time to go back and apply what you've learned." This sentence made me feel sad since I didn't want to forsake Jesus. At the same time, I was filled with excitement and anticipation because I knew I would return and use what I'd learned in real life. I bid Jesus farewell and expressed my gratitude to him. Jesus spoke words of blessing and encouragement to me that gave me confidence and bravery. I wasn't as afraid this time in the tunnel as I had been the previous time. Instead, I was filled with courage and drive. I noticed a shift in my surroundings. The tunnel's walls were no longer gray and drab, but full of life and brilliant hues. Finally, my soul returned to my body. When I awoke from the ambulance, I was in a very good mood. I was determined to finish the race. I noticed the doctors and nurses examining my physique. I assured them that I was all right and that I would be able to finish the marathon. But the physicians turned down my offer, telling me that I needed to be checked and treated more completely in the hospital. In the hospital, I told the physicians about my encounter with Jesus. They all looked at me differently. Finally, I realized what I'd gone through. During my experience, I recognized that I'd gotten a deeper understanding and revelation. I knew exactly what I needed to do next. I should apply everything I've learned in actual life.